to save it. Be careful,
Okay.
because there is a possibility to lose where to save it, and you lose it.
I hope you trust me. Do you does anybody else wants to try it?
Pilar, you can also set Roberto or someone else as a host, and then someone else also has the ability.
Everyone can record the meeting, because
I'll do my best. I won't end the meeting and
yeah, record permission from the meeting host. Yeah, you're right.
All right, it is recording now.
Excellent. So it's really good to see everybody. I wonder if in the interest of time, we should try to get started, since some of the emails and the retweets and all the sharing has subsided a bit. So good to see you all. And I'll invite everybody, just like we already started, to jump in. There will be certain parts where different SIG officers will be kind of sharing information. So first of all, we have some exciting news to share. Oh, and by the way, yes, please use the chat function if you have questions or comments as we go, and we can always scroll back and address those if you want for the Q&A. Okay, great. So first of all, as of yesterday, we are the largest SIG in the society with 172 members. And that's, of course, not even counting our colleagues who had struggled with a new website, right, to register and find out how to join. So, so this is, of course, very exciting and really, really good news to share. So we are and continue to be the largest SIG in CIES, and that's of course a good reason to be thankful for everybody's support, but for everybody's service as well. So that's first piece of news, and I am joined by the wonderful SIG officers, and I just couldn't ask for a more remarkable group of colleagues to be working with. And I wanted to put this slide up to really share some of the recognition for everybody's work. We will go into more detail to talk about the program, and of course, a big piece of this ceremony is the awards component, right? So Matt will be leading that portion, but I really want to acknowledge everybody's work, in particular, Michelle Vital's work in sharing all this information, constant emails. Information has changed over and over, so our communication strategy has been great. I will acknowledge the remarkable work that both Kayla and Stephanie have done, and I'll provide evidence about how remarkable that has been. And of course, none of this would be possible without the support of Pilar, and our SIG couldn't be left in better hands as I conclude my cycle as co-chair of the SIG. More details to come about the upcoming election, but it's really great to have Pilar. So it's quite appropriate that Pilar is officially the host of this business meeting as well on Zoom. So again, thank you all, and thank you for being so remarkable colleagues and for everything that you do and continue to do. And I look forward to staying involved with the SIG in other capacities. So for all of our members, don't forget our website. We have been working on, for the last really, still since Megan was co-chair, in revamping and updating some of the information. So again, thanks to Michelle Vital for continuing to work on the website, and be sure to visit frequently. It's very, very useful to have information there, and we are working very hard to have this up to date. I also And Rosie, if you're still on the call, it would be wonderful if you could provide a couple of updates from our journal and also our growing editorial board. We welcomed 2 new members of the editorial team this year. So that has been really great. So Rosie, if you're there, please let us know about the journal.
Absolutely, I'm here, and the Journal of Comparative and International Higher Education is the flagship journal of the CIEG, and we are doing extraordinarily well. We have our team of Bernard Streisweiser, sorry, as our senior editor, Hei Ting from University of Hong Kong as our managing editor, Angel Ochen, who is our communications editor, and we also have Sasha Q, who is our social media editor, so that things I don't understand get out into social media spaces. We have just published, actually December, I think it was the 20th, we got our fall issue out, which is every winter we do a special issue. So that was a special issue on mobilities. Oh, thank you. And we just this week got out our supplemental issue, which is our graduate student work in progress. And the graduate work in progress, as it says, is about upcoming scholars, what they're doing, and it is a work in progress. It's 500 to 1,000 words, so there's not a lot you can say in that, but they managed to make it deep. We have close to 40 students in the supplemental issue. The spring issue is scheduled to come out in the mid to end of April, and then we have a series of special issues coming up. We have and special issue themes. People could apply to any time, ongoing basis, but the special issues do have special designations. The first one for winter 2020 is on refugees, and that issue is no longer accepting applicants. In summer 2021, we have a special issue edited by Dr. Arnie Johnson and Dr. Maselius Maba, and it's on the role of Indigenous knowledge in post-secondary policies and practices towards sustainable development. Proposals are due June 1st. In winter 2021, Michael Lanford is going to be the special editor, Global Higher Education Partnerships. Summer 2022, our own Pilar is going to be a special editor, not yet knowing what the topic is going to be. Winter 2022, Kyle Long is going to be a special editor on foreign influences in international higher education. And winter 2023, our special editor is going to be Sharon Stein. So we definitely have special editors moving forward. We are in the process of rebranding the journals so that we are more in line with other academic journals. So we are putting together a international advisory board, and I have confirmation so far from Kahamok, from Ali Saad Ali Ibrahim, Mark Ashwell, Christopher Collins, and Sharon Stein. If you know of any excellent scholars who you think might be a good contribution to the International Advisory Board, especially scholars that work outside of Anglophone countries, please send me their names. We're in the process of doing lots more outreach as we build this advisory board that really should reflect our SIG, and it should reflect our journal. That said, we are always in need of new articles. We are desperately in need of peer reviewers. If you have not already, please register at the journal where it says here, get involved, to be a peer reviewer, especially if you have content knowledge about other countries. I know it's an international journal, but I'm getting article submissions about specific countries, and I'm not getting enough peer reviewers to be able to do them justice. So I invite and urge everybody to make sure that because you're part of the SIG, you're now part of the journal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosie. So that was really, really helpful. And just to follow some of the comments on the sidebar, the special issue that Pilar will be editing is about Latin America, higher education in Latin America. So so please continue doing the chat function. And thank you, Rosie, so much for all your work and for all the work that all the members of the editorial board continue to do. And it's really incredible. Year after year, there is something new, some new aspect of the journal, and this wouldn't be possible without your leadership and everybody's service to it. So thank you so much for that. And continuing on the theme of thank yous, I really want to thank Kayla Johnson and Stephanie Kim for putting together not one program this year, but really two programs. So, so thank you both for the remarkable work that you have done. And as you can see, for the Miami program, we received a very healthy number of submissions, continues to be very, very strong. And also, we were able to provide a space for some of the virtual sessions. So Kayla and Stephanie, do you want to give us a quick update on the two programs that you have outstandingly put together this year?
Sure. Maybe I could do the first part and Kayla could do the second part about the virtual.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. So sure. We had a great number of proposals this year. So we started out, actually, it's supposed to be 128 reviewers.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes.
That's okay. Yeah, so thank you to all 128 reviewers for your service to the SIG. We really appreciate it. And this program would not be possible without you. In terms of the on-site original conference that was supposed to take place in Miami, we had 172 individual submissions and 9 pre-organized session submissions. And out of those, 108 of the individual submissions and 7 of the pre-organized sessions made it into the program for a total of 38 sessions that we would have had at the Miami conference.
Right, thanks, Stephanie. And so at this point, all of the authors of the papers that were accepted, whether it was an individual paper presentation or a session, received an email last week about how to transition to the virtual conference if they wanted. So originally, the OED had set up a system where each SIG was going to be handling the transition of their own presentations. And so we sent out a Google form asking people who were interested, do you still want to present virtually? Please fill out this form by March 22nd. And then we received some clarification from the OED that they are taking on that responsibility, and people have until April 10th. And so we have notified all of those authors again to say, thank you for filling out our Google form. Also, please fill out this other form to make sure that you make it into the final program. So what we're going to be doing is all of the folks who filled out that first form, that Google form that was just for HESIG, Michelle and Stephanie and I are going to be working together to put together some kind of like a Twitter thread about different topic or presentation topics to let folks know what's going on with HESIG. Because if you've looked around at the living calendar, sort of all of those asynchronous presentations that everybody's going to be doing, all the recordings, they're not in sessions anymore. They're just individual papers. And so we want to make those pretty easily searchable or find some way to talk about them and promote them on social media. So thank you to all of you who filled out the first form. There were 42, we heard from 42 papers, and 37 of them have confirmed that they will be presenting virtually. And if you haven't done that and you still want to present virtually, you can still do that. Just fill out the OED's form that was linked in the email sent from me yesterday.
Well, thank you both for the remarkable work that you have done. And again, as well, thank you to the 128 reviewers who supported the program this year. It's really a very high number, and it's actually very close to the number of members that we have. So that makes me think that nearly all of us are doing something to support our program, and let's continue doing that, please. Okay, so this brings us to our election of a new co-chair. Please, so this will be for the 2020-2023, period. And we will be seeking nominations in both nominations and self-nominations are welcome. This could be sent to any one of the current higher education SIG officers. And the way this election works is we collect nominations, we form a ballot of candidates, and then we pass on that information to the Office of the Executive Director, who then runs the election with our members. And then they let us know the results of the election after. What we are proposing is an internal deadline of April 10th, but of course, with everything happening in the world, we could have some flexibility around these. So certainly, we want to encourage you all to consider the possibility of self-nominating. I promise you, it is not nearly as much work as it looks like, especially because we have such a remarkable team of colleagues who are so kind and generous with their time. So no one person feels alone doing this work. So we want to encourage you to consider being nominated for this role. And we certainly will have more opportunities to talk about the roles and also to discuss during our meeting. So
could I say something real quick? Well, of course, first of all, we're really sad that Gerardo is leaving, and we're already trying to make him come back. but I just wanted to say, really, Gerardo, thank you very much. And this year for me has been transition and learning from you, and thank you for the guidance. And sure, I'll do the same thing for the next person who will come. I have a question, and I don't know, maybe we can consider this later. But given the extraordinary circumstances we're living, I was wondering. And this is a question for you, Gerardo, that understand the inner workings of CIES. If we could be more flexible with April 10, we are still doing the asynchronous conference, and I think that the bandwidth of all of us has been reduced significantly. So do we have flexibility to extend the deadline?
Yes.
From CIES, is there a reason why it needs to be April 10 or not?
No, we had something similar last year, like the deadline. So I'm just kind of following that. But I definitely think, well, first of all, if we don't have enough nominations by then, it's really up to us to pass on that ballot when it's ready. So we certainly could have more flexibility, and I would absolutely support that. So part of this is like I would be happy just to continue being involved normally. And again, I think you're right. These are extraordinary times that call for extraordinary flexibility as well. So I wouldn't see any problem to even extending this to the end of April, perhaps, and still being able to run an election.
Okay, so we will announce, right, in
Yes.
future communications, but and everybody has ideas for us, please let us know. But we are definitely looking into being more flexible this time.
That's right. Thank you, Pilar. And thank you all for giving me the great opportunity of serving. And I do intend to stay involved. continue reviewing. I'll continue involved with the journal as well. We have kind of created a role as peer editor. So some of the, since we don't have full-time staff for our journal, sometimes that final peer editing requires some work. So I'll stay involved, and it's just a delight to work with all of you. But I also would like to pass on this opportunity to other colleagues who also would be willing to serve our SIG. So I'm just about to conclude my piece here and pass on the leadership for the piece that everybody comes to our meeting for, which is the award ceremony. But before we move on to that component, first, I really want to acknowledge the wonderful work that our colleague Matt Wittenstein has been doing as awards chair for our SIG. Thank you, Matt, for everything that you do and for the remarkable group of colleagues that you have put together and kept in this awards committee. So thank you all for all the work that you do, and we are just about to see the fruits of your hard work. Matt, would you like to please take over from here? And I'll just be in charge of like moving the slides to the different categories.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Gerardo. Good morning, everybody. Brett told me that I was being too loud over in the main room of the house, so I moved over to the office. He said, shh, in a text. So, all right, so I'm in our office now. Well, I want to thank, we had quite a healthy number of submissions this year, as we typically do. I also just want to give a 20-second sidebar and really thank Rosalind Raby for getting me involved as a member of the award committee, I don't know, probably 11 or 12 CIES meetings ago. And it's really been such an integral part of my career and been so helpful to me throughout grad school and as a newer faculty member. So with that, we have a really wonderful group of people, as you'll see on the slide here, some that are newer members of the award committee and some who've been serving for quite some time. With our 4 awards, I just quickly want to acknowledge Meseret Halu as the chair of our book award committee, Anatoly Alexienko as the chair of our journal article award committee, Antigone Papadimitriou, who chairs our student travel award committee, and Rosalind Latner-Raby, who chairs the dissertation award committee. They really are integral in helping the process be very seamless. And Gerardo, do we want to go on? Let's see. So, wow. The picture of the book, Gerardo, you made this much more beautiful than I. Sorry, I'm taken back by the beauty of the picture of the book that you put onto our slide here. So the Higher Ed SIG Book Award goes to Hillary Landorf and team. And Hillary, do you want to share for a minute a little bit?
Yes, thank you. And I think Stephanie, my co-author and colleague and friend Stephanie is also on the line. Mm-hmm. And just a note about the cover. The cover is a cover of students at FIU. Those are real students collaborating, and that's one of the themes of our book, collaboration. So just to start, and then I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie. We're so honored to receive this award. And before I say a few words about the book, I want to recognize the importance of this SIG and of SIGs in general at CIES. The Higher Ed SIG is, and as Gerardo said, and has been for many years, the largest SIG in CIES. And as the executive director of CIES for the past few years, I can say with some authority that SIGs really are the lifeblood of the society. And it's SIGs like yours that are organized, and I see it from the meeting here. You're democratic, and you carry out activities that represent the best of the society, that is community and collaboration. You have a journal, you have webinars, you have newsletters, for example. You support each other. And I want to say that you must make sure as we move forward that you're also supported by the board with resources and a real voice on the board. So I urge you to, as you move forward, claim your voices on the board of directors of CIES. And now I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
Sure. Thank you, Hillary. So for the past 12 years, Hillary and I and many, many other people at Florida International University have been leading a university-wide global learning initiative called Global Learning for Global Citizenship. And the genesis of this initiative was the realization that in order to provide an education to every single one of our students as graduates of Florida International University, that it will allow them to not just navigate, but to shape the increasingly locally diverse and very interconnected world, that we would need to engage students in a new kind of educational experience. That this kind of preparation wasn't about what they learned, and it really wasn't about where they learned. It was about how they learned. And our students were the ones who said that the way that they wanted to learn was within a context of diversity. They realized that they were living in a soup constantly of different cognitive perspectives, different cultural perspectives, different disciplinary perspectives. And they wanted that diversity to be brought to bear on their learning experience. And you'll notice that in our book, there's the word inclusion, inclusive excellence. That's because we believe that global learning has to be something that involves all. And every one of our individual global learning outcomes is only as enriched and as developed as the inclusion of all perspectives. And we're living right now in perhaps the most consequential, the most dramatic experience of what inclusion as part of global learning is all about. Because inclusion isn't just about making things equitable admissions practices. It's not just about making people feel welcome in a classroom. It's not just about accessibility. It's about necessity. It's about connections. It's about the realization that the problems that we deal with in our everyday lives, the questions that we're seeking to answer, are so complex and impact people so differently that we need all people's perspectives, or as many as we can bring to the table, to understand and address those issues. And so we define global learning as this process of diverse people collaboratively analyzing and addressing complex problems that transcend borders of difference, whether those borders be geographic, time-bound, disciplinary, cultural, cognitive, you name it. But how do we acknowledge that each of us has a piece of the puzzle, and how do we connect those pieces to produce new knowledge, new perspectives, and new ways of living in and living well and healthfully in the world.
Thank
So
you
the
so
book
much. Oh, sorry.
is just about that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Hillary and Stephanie. Really appreciate it. And we now move on to the dissertation award. Many of us have been there. But Alejandra Bartlete gets to win our award for her dissertation entitled A Cultural Political Economy Account of Higher Education in Mercosur. Congratulations, Alejandra. I'm not sure Alejandra's on the call. I don't know if I saw her. Gerardo, do you want to give a 5-minute speech or so about her dissertation? I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? And we also, I love the fact that we started doing honorable mentions a number of years ago. We get so many wonderful submissions, and it's a shame not to commend other fantastic ones where we have a hard time, deciding on just one. And so Abdul Ahmed was an honorable mention for The Rise of Fallism, #Rhodes Must Fall, and the movement to decolonize the university. Congrats, Abdul, on your honorable mention. And Abdul, are you here? I don't think he's here, is he? And we had one more with such a great group of dissertations this year. Lauren Collins also is an honorable mention for Letting the Village Be the Teacher, a critical ethnographic case study of community-based learning in northern Thailand. Lauren, are you here? And we can...
Matt, can I say something about the dissertation?
Please do so.
Okay, so this year the dissertations were quite exceptional in both the methodologies that they used, in the critical discourse that they applied, and in the interweaving of new ideas to get at old problems. Alejandra, who was our winner, used historical methods very uniquely, and she applied critical thought to the historical methodology. It was quite an interesting dissertation. The other recipient was, Ahmed, right?
Ahmed, yep.
Abdul. And Abdul had an interesting discussion that he talked about the transformations of de- and post-colonializing theories, a very detailed methodology. So this was like a case study of how to do good methodology in a dissertation, and a very strong history. And then Lauren, I'm sorry, I have my notes in different areas. Her methodology was also appropriate to having her identify the meaning of voices, and looking at the connections of space and time. So I highly encourage everybody to go check out these dissertations when you have a chance. They were excellent.
Can I?
Yeah, Esther, maybe
yeah,
if you could call
actually,
upon Antigone and Esther, please go ahead.
Thank you. Congratulations also for the book, and also all those in the dissertation. Actually, I would like to echo Rosalind, whatever. This year we have enormous amount of great dissertation, methodological means, and the writing, and more of, they came from all over the world, That means give us the voice. It's not only locally, let's say, few international programs from the US, they have this international higher education. They came from all over. And I would like to, of course, several in the chat, they mentioned that they would like to read. with the permission of those participants, maybe we would like to post this particular those dissertations online under our website, means Higher SIG, in order to provide visibility. However, if those folks, they plan to publish, I don't know how, this will be probably something difficult, or maybe I would like to invite them just to develop an executive summary, and with a methodological, more areas with their methodology. And this is very useful, not only for graduate students, but for faculty and other researchers around the globe, that maybe they would like to see different way of thinking. This year, it was unbelievable. Well, you know, that I read one after the other, say, no, I can't believe it, you know, and then I read, you know, we have a lot of work during the new year. Thank you all for your, thank you all those students for the nice, and now colleagues, yeah.
Thanks, Antigone. And Esther, you wanted to share something real fast.
Yes, I just, Lauren was last year a young scholar at the mentorship, so I know a little bit about her dissertation. And I just wanted to mention one thing about it, and this is that usually there are lots of studies about education abroad, and her study went to the communities where we send our students to see the influence and the changes at the community when we send our students to stay with them. So just I wanted to mention this kind of, you know, a different look that she did at education abroad.
Thank you so much, everybody. And now for the big journal article award goes to Marta A. Shaw. Marta's title is Public Accountability versus Academic Independence, Tensions of the Public Higher Education Governance in Poland. I must say, Hardo, the slides I gave to you were fine, but these are much snazzier. Wow, you really know how to snazz an audience up. Marta, do you happen to be here? Congratulations. I guess we don't. And we also, with so many, oh wow, the cover of Higher Education. I love these slides. So we also had such a rich selection of journal articles submitted to us. And it looks like the producers from a fancy Hollywood film, the honorable mention is quite a team headed by none other than Crystal George Mwangi, for criticality in international higher education research, a critical discourse analysis of higher education journals. And I did see Crystal somewhere among our group here.
I'm on, yeah. Good morning, or well, good morning for me, everyone.
Good middle of the night here, but good.
Yeah.
Crystal, do you want to share just quickly?
Oh, sure. I mean, so this particular study, as you see, and as Matt mentioned, was a labor of love with a team of student and faculty colleagues. So Shane, Joseph, and Gerardo as faculty colleagues, but more importantly, students, Sidaf Ladafat, Hani Toma, and Susan Comers, who are all graduate students. And actually, Suzanne just recently defended her dissertation this past semester. The focus was really to understand how internationalization has shaped this discourse within academic journals. And we engaged in a critical discourse analysis of over 300 articles across 4 journals considered top tier in higher ed, to really just try to apply critical and transformative paradigms. And, you know, think about the strengths and shortcomings of extant literature in our field regarding issues of things like equity and criticality, found or not across, you know, research designs, frameworks, content published in internationalization research. And, you know, I think also demonstrate the applicability of a critical worldview and critical discourse analysis to studies of research production in international higher education. because oftentimes the publishing process can be deemed a values neutral process, when in fact we believe that it is not such. So it was really fun, but again, a heavy lift. And so I'm really thankful that we had such a great team of faculty and students working on this. And so, kudos to them as well.
Thanks so much, Crystal, and congratulations to your group. And finally, we have the Student Travel Award, which once again, we had such a great group of folks. This was not an easy deliberation. Razi and I were on the committee that Antigone chaired, and Shasha Sui and Shinji Katsumoto were our winners. So congratulations to both of you. I guess we've traveled all the way on to, I don't know what to call this, onto Zoom together, but you will still receive your travel award. Sorry, Gerardo. And so we reflected upon this the last couple of years and have moved toward giving cash prizes per winner, which in some cases may be per team, like in Hillary's and her group. So instead of giving plaques and designing people's homes, we have chosen, and in terms of sustainability and dragging awards around, we've decided to do this. So each winner this year of the 3 writing awards, each received $300 per team, and the Student Travel Awards received $400. Winners and honorable mentions, I'll be sending a certificate to everyone that Susan over at the OED is helping me make, and she's put together a pretty nice certificate, so you should be receiving those soon. Thanks to everyone on our team of reviewers. It definitely takes a little bit of your extra time, and we really appreciate it. And thanks to all those who submitted nominations.
That's right. And again, thank you, Matt, for all your work and your leadership in this process, also for moving us in this direction, for all your advice in considering the change. And really, who would have known, right, that you would be so far ahead of our times? Imagine just what it would involve in terms of shipping. Traditionally, it involves like additional baggage fees, and we know that air travel is such a concern these days, of course. So thank you for moving us in a direction of more sustainability and also trying to practice the values that we espouse. So thank you, Matt, for all the work that you do.
Thanks,
And yes, Antigone is mentioning, right, like some of we'll figure out the logistics, right? Like we are figuring out how to make these available. But again, we're very excited moving in this direction. So that's it. Really, this would be the part, of course, where we all would get our favorite pastry of choice, and where we would just mingle and talk with each other. I also want to acknowledge that we have run our meeting, obviously, in a virtual space, but very much as business as usual in extraordinary times. So if any of you would like to share questions, concerns, or comments with the group, this is our chance, right? So things that we may want to continue having in mind as a SIG, some concerns that may be emerging, please, this is our open forum, and we'll try to manage as best as we can, of course, given the medium. So feel free to unmute yourselves, use the chat function, whatever works, and I promise to be quiet as I've been kind of playing facilitator here.
I want to make just one announcement before anybody jumps in with a question. So we have rescheduled one of our highlighted sessions for tomorrow. So I dropped the information in the chat box for you. So tomorrow at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have one of our highlighted sessions, which is titled, When Will It Stop? Expansion and the Struggle for Sustainability. And you can find the Zoom link there in the chat box. But we're going to hear research from Elizabeth Buckner and Yu Zhang at the University of Toronto and Dante Salto at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So we really encourage you to come to that.
I wanted to thank you, Kyla. I just wanted to mention something as we were closing this part of the meeting, that in the past we have been talking about the budget and the financial, the books basically of the organization. And I think Gerardo can talk a little bit more, but since CIES transitioned, they are all year, they're in the midst of a transition. And then we have these moving online and what's happening in the world. So we haven't gotten the full information that we needed. So I just wanted to let you know that that's the reason why we don't have that information for you right now. Part of that is that all the changes and things are going on with CIES itself. So, but it's good. It's all good. We know it's all positive. There's nothing to worry about. It's just again bandwidth.
That's right. And
it's
yes,
basically an issue
have,
overwhelmed with other things right now.
Yeah, by the end of the academic year, we will have a full financial report. It's just the numbers, like they're really looking extremely healthy. And I'm sure there has been a counting mistake. We don't have $60,000 in our funds. So I'm trying to get the correct information because that's what had been shared with us, right? So in full transparency with the group, that's what they told us we have. I'm pretty sure that it's not what we have. So we're trying to get the correct information and then share it with the group once it's all straightened out.
And if we do have all that, then we need to get creative.
Oh, well, yes, then the award will be substantially increased. We may add a zero, but I seriously doubt that's where our finances are at the moment. But we are definitely in good shape to cover all of our expenses for this year.
Thank you, Gerardo.
Can I say something? Yeah, okay, hello everyone. Actually, this exercise that CIES is doing is extremely useful. We can use it as a good practice. We learned yesterday, I joined several meetings and I plan to do the same this week as much as I can. And in one meeting, namely Agora, it was really very well developed, and we discussed several, the politics, the plus, the minus about those conference online or in person. And I will encourage our SIG to organize, to develop a task force or something in order to see in forthcoming conference. How will support all those internationals, how will support graduate students with limited resources, and also another important is how will review papers. I know that we received 170, we review many of us. However, we would like to see how we'll review papers differently from different countries and not necessarily match some standards that we have it in a different universities, in order to give some floor for those to talk and share their practices. That means one action will be just to organize a task force for the next year, because I assume, means I wish to have everything next year, but the road will be a challenge. And also, if I can, as is a similar as Higher Education Council and the Council for International Higher Education. I'm elected new program chair, elected chair, and also with the head of this year, with the head of the co-chair for the higher ed, for the Council of International Higher Education. Gerardo is the other who are co-chairing this. I would like to invite you to review proposals. Please sign and try to review proposals for the for the CIES, and then because you're expert and we need your support, and two different conferences, but we can, you know, connect it sometime. And thank you all of you for the nice work and your effort, and Kayla will keep us in tune, and safe well, all of you. Yep.
Thank you. I think the idea of continuing online, there's something else that I noticed is that our acceptance rate, as I calculated quickly from those numbers, it's 62%. It's going down. So I think if we have an online component, not only is more accessibility for those who cannot travel, but I think that would also help us with increasing that acceptance rates, and I think something that we valued is to be inclusive as opposed to selective. So I think that would be a way to deal with the demand that we cannot put everybody in a hotel because of the cost effects. So.
Yeah. Our acceptance rate, just since you brought it up, Pilar, was around 82% this year.
Oh, okay.
Across the board for posters, papers, and sessions.
I just divided the numbers of presentations over the ones.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Those numbers would
okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I said, oh, that is a 62%, and I was like, okay, but still, okay. Thank you.
Just so we're clear.
Okay, sure. And I'm taking notes of these points.
So there is a question about Amy, about all the different higher education posters, sessions, presentations that are happening. And Kayla and Stephanie, were you, is this something that you are still working on? I know that it has moved from decentralized to centralized again, but with do we have some kind of list of everybody or different members who are participating in the virtual CIES conference?
Eventually, yes. It's likely that it's not going to be a complete list because we do have, again, the two forms. So that's how we're going to be using that first form that we sent out, the Google form. So that's how we know which HESIG presentations there are going to be, because once you fill out the OED's form, they handle everything, and we are not really sure whether things are going to be fine or not. And I mean, we might be able to get some clarification on that, but we're really grateful that the OED, I will say, thank you to the OED for taking care of those things. But to answer your question, Amy, yes, we are hoping to have some kind of list about posters, papers. We aren't going to have panels anymore. So the only panels will be the two highlighted sessions, just for logistical reasons. But we'll probably put together sort of an email list, but also, as I mentioned earlier, those Twitter threads. So for example, we could have a thread on internationalization and then list all of the papers and authors that you can find about internationalization, our sort of way of putting together sessions.
And since we are in that open forum, I said I'd be quiet, but we have both Esther and Amy on the call, and we could do a plug for our session tomorrow, if that's okay. Esther or Amy, do you want to share with the group?
Go ahead. Go ahead, tell us, you invite everybody to our session tomorrow.
That's right. So our session is outdistancing comparative education. So even though it was very interesting, right, because it was initially meant to be a hybrid session with Amy doing her portion virtually and joining us in person. But then, you know, that was one of the first, that was the first piece that survived the transition unscathed. So we are very excited that we actually were able to keep our original time of tomorrow at 10. So I shared with the group on LinkedIn the link for the session. I'll try to find it and put it also on the side chat. But if you can, please join us tomorrow at 10 Eastern, which that means it's still fairly early for our colleagues on the West Coast, but 7 a.m. is still a bit more polite than 5, and many of you are still joining us anyway. So I hope you can join us all.
Yeah, I wanted to add in general that the virtual conference goes on to the end of April, so there's time to join.
I don't know what I'm clicking, so sorry about that. I was trying to get back to the call. So are there any other questions or discussion items for our SIG that you would like to share with everyone?
Too bad we don't have breakfast for all of you.
I know. So that being said, I mean, I don't know how to paste on this thing the link for our session, but we can certainly just share by email. Other than that, I just kind of wanted to be mindful, as some of our colleagues who are teaching online are reporting some outages with some of like Blackboard Collaborate, and that's because, and also WebEx, many platforms are just experiencing shortages. So I don't want us to be taking up bandwidth from others who may need it. So if we don't have any additional comments or thoughts, it's really wonderful to be part of this community. Please stay safe, and let's continue reimagining what our SIG and our society can do in these uncertain times. And please take care of yourselves.
And I'd like to say, Gerardo and Pilar and the rest of the team, what an amazing job you guys are doing. And thank you very much for your leadership.
And the same for you, Rosie. It's pretty impressive, especially the months that I saw and the grad student special issue. That was very impressive. So thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you.
Oh, and Esther just posted the link for our session tomorrow at 10. So thank you, Esther. Thank you all. And please take care and continue involved with our SIG.
Thank you. So I think I'm the one, I'll be the last to leave. I'm really crossing fingers. I know how to deal with their recording. If anybody has some guidance,
You want me to help you?
Okay, great.
Okay, so what you need to do is stop. I'm going to tell you what to do, but you stop the recording, you leave this meeting, and then within 40 seconds on your computer, there's going to be a screen from Zoom that's saying it's initializing it. And then something will pop up saying, do you want to save it on the cloud or do you want to save it on your computer? I've always saved mine on the computer because I don't know anything about clouds. And then I created a file on my computer for the Zoom. And then you just click on it and the link is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Actually, you have this is very important. You save it somewhere and then you would like to see where it's supposed to save. And because now you don't have any file, just save it on the desktop or not on the download, because you lose it if you save it on the download. Just save it on the desktop or in any of your files that you have available and then take it. There are several files that you have to save. It will be a Zoom, will be a voice, will be video, will be several of them.
Okay.
And probably you should cut all those directions right now. But anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Because everything is, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
good luck.
Call me, Pilar, if you need questions.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.